They say the worst pain isn't when someone stabs you in the back. It's when they do it with a smile, with arms wrapped around you, whispering I love you like they mean it. That's how Jake betrayed me, with love still dripping from his lips. For 5 years, he was my everything. My rock, my safe place, my future. I built my world around him, believing in the fairy tale we had created together. Until the night that fairy tale shattered. It happened on a Wednesday, just a regular, boring Wednesday. I was curled up on our couch, sipping tea, while Jake was in the shower. His phone buzzed on the coffee table. Normally, I wouldn't even think about checking it. I trusted him. But something in my gut twisted. A tiny whisper of doubt. And before I could stop myself, I picked up the phone. One unread message. A name I didn't recognize. Sophie. My hands shook as I opened it. Last night was perfect. Can't wait to see you again, babe. Winking face. The room felt like it was spinning. My vision blurred as my world collapsed around me. Jake's voice broke through my shock. Babe, where's my... He stopped mid-sentence when he saw his phone in my hands. Our eyes met. And in that moment, I knew. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. My husband, my best friend, the man who swore forever, to me he was cheating. But if he thought I was going to be the weak, heartbroken wife, he was dead wrong. I wiped my tears, took a deep breath, and smiled. Because I wasn't going to let him break me. I was going to break him. Jake wasn't just my husband, he was my home. When we first met, I was fresh out of college, juggling 2 part-time jobs and a mountain of student loans. He was the kind of guy who walked into a room and made everyone feel like they belonged. Charming, confident, with a smile that could melt glaciers. I was the quiet one. The planner. The girl who made lists before going to the grocery store. He was spontaneous, the type to book a last-minute trip just because the sky looked extra blue that day. Maybe that's why we worked. I grounded him. He made me feel alive. For 5 years, our marriage was a beautiful, messy symphony. Late-night drives with music blasting, slow Sunday mornings wrapped in each other's arms, whispered promises of forever. Jake was my safe place. The man who kissed my forehead when I had a bad day, who made me laugh when I was drowning in stress. We weren't perfect, but we were us and that was enough. Or at least, that's what I thought. Looking back, I see the cracks now. The late nights at work that turned into early mornings. The sudden, unexplained distance. The way his phone was always on silent, screen face down. I should have seen the signs. But love makes you blind. And I was so blind. I believed him when he said he was working late. I believed him when he pulled away and blamed stress. I believed him when he held me at night, even when his embrace felt different, because the truth was too painful to even consider. Jake wasn't just my husband. He was my everything. And now, he was my greatest enemy. Trust is a fragile thing. It takes years to build, but only seconds to shatter. And that Wednesday night, mine shattered into a million pieces. Jake was still frozen in place, his towel wrapped loosely around his waist, water dripping from his hair. His face was unreadable, but his eyes, those damn eyes, they gave him away. Guilt. I could see it, thick and suffocating, as he stared at the phone in my hands. Who's Sophie? My voice was calm. Too calm. Jake's throat bobbed as he swallowed. She's a coworker. I raised an eyebrow. A coworker who calls you babe and says last night was perfect? He flinched. Just a tiny movement, but I caught it. Liar. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his damp hair. It's not what you think. I almost laughed. Not what I think? The most overused, pathetic excuse in the book. So, explain it to me. My voice was steady, but inside, a storm was raging. My heart pounded against my ribs. My hands clenched into fists to keep from shaking. Jake hesitated, just for a second. And that second was all I needed. He was searching for a lie. Something inside me snapped. I let out a bitter chuckle and tossed his phone onto the bed. Forget it, Jake, I already know. He stepped closer, his hands reaching for mine, but I took a step back. The hurt on his face almost looked real. Almost. "Please, just let me explain," he pleaded. I should have screamed. I should have thrown something, broken down in tears. But I didn't. Because I wasn't just a betrayed wife. I was a woman with a plan. And Jake had no idea what was coming. I sat in bed that night, staring at the ceiling while Jake lay beside me, breathing evenly, as if nothing had happened. His back was turned to me, and I wondered if it was guilt or just exhaustion. A part of me wanted to shake him awake, to force him to confess everything, to demand the truth. But another part, the smarter, stronger part, told me to wait. I had to be sure. Because what if I was wrong? What if it really was just an innocent conversation? What if I was letting my paranoia destroy my marriage? No. I wasn't crazy. I knew what I saw. Still, my mind refused to rest. Every possible scenario played on repeat like a broken record. Was it just one woman? Was she just a fling? Or was she something more? How long has this been going on? My fingers itched to grab his phone, to dig through his messages, his emails, his location history, anything that would give me answers. But if I did that and he caught me, he'd know. And I didn't want him to know. Not yet. So I waited. The next morning, Jake kissed my forehead before leaving for work, just like he always did. Like nothing had changed. Like he wasn't sleeping with someone else behind my back. As soon as he was gone, I grabbed my laptop and logged into our shared phone account. My stomach twisted as I scrolled through his call logs. There she was. Sophie. He had called her every day for the past 3 months. Late at night, early in the morning, sometimes during lunch breaks. I clenched my jaw. This wasn't just some drunken mistake. This was a relationship. A second life he had built while I was here, playing the loyal, clueless wife. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I blinked them away. I wouldn't cry. Not for him. Not for a man who had already replaced me. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to think rationally. I needed a plan. Catching him red-handed wouldn't be enough. Screaming at him, throwing him out, begging for the truth, it wouldn't be enough. I didn't just want to confront him. I wanted to ruin him. And for that, I needed her. Sophie had no idea what was coming. I thought I was prepared for anything. I had gone through every scenario in my head, what I would do, what I would say. I had even imagined the worst, catching them together, hearing him admit it, watching my marriage crumble in real time. But nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to discover. The next evening, I followed him. Jake had told me he was working late again. Lie. I didn't even flinch when he said it. Just kissed his cheek, smiled, and watched him leave like the trusting wife he thought I still was. 10 minutes later, I was in my car, tailing him. I expected him to drive to a hotel, maybe her apartment. But when he pulled into an upscale restaurant instead, I hesitated. Was this really an affair, or was I letting paranoia cloud my judgment? Then I saw her. Sophie. She was already seated at a corner table, sipping red wine, looking every bit like the other woman she was. Jake walked in, and she lit up, her entire face glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just an affair. This was love. But the real gut punch came when Jake sat down, reached across the table, and took her hand. And then she kissed him. Not just a quick peck. A slow, deep, lingering kiss. The kind that said, "I belong to you." And he kissed her back. My hands trembled against the steering wheel. My vision blurred. It wasn't just sex. He loved her. I felt my world tilt, like I was standing on the edge of a cliff with no ground beneath me. I wanted to barge in, throw the truth in their faces, scream until my lungs burned. But then, Sophie pulled back, smiling up at him with something soft, something tender in her eyes. And then she spoke. "Have you told her yet?" I froze. Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Not yet, but soon." "Tell me? Tell me what?" Sophie pouted, but it was playful. "Jake, we talked about this. We can't keep sneaking around forever. I know, he murmured, squeezing her hand. I just need to find the right time. I don't want to hurt her. My breath caught in my throat. He was planning to leave me. Not only had he betrayed me, he had already written me out of his life. My marriage wasn't just breaking. It was already over. A cold, numbing sensation spread through me. But beneath it, something dark and furious burned. If Jake thought he could just throw me away like yesterday's trash, he had no idea what I was capable of. And neither did she. Jake thought he was in control. He thought he held all the cards, that I was some naive, clueless wife sitting at home, waiting for him while he planned his new life with Sophie. He had no idea that I was about to destroy everything he built. And I was going to do it tonight. That evening, I made dinner. I lit candles. I set the table. I even put on the perfume he used to love. Jake walked in at 8:30 a.m., smelling of expensive wine and a woman who wasn't me. "Hey, babe," he said, loosening his tie, planting a quick kiss on my forehead as if I didn't know where his lips had been an hour ago. I smiled sweetly. "Long day at work?" "Yeah," he sighed, dropping his briefcase by the door. "Exhausting." "I bet." "Come, eat." I gestured toward the table. "I made your favorite." Jake's eyes flickered with something, guilt, maybe. Suspicion? He hesitated for just a second before nodding and taking a seat. We ate in silence. I could see the wheels turning in his head, could feel the weight of what he wasn't saying pressing against the air between us. Finally, I leaned back, sipping my wine. "Jake." He looked up. "Yeah?" I smiled. "How long have you been sleeping with Sophie?" The fork slipped from his hand, clattering against the plate. His entire body went rigid. "What?" His voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. I tilted my head, feigning curiosity. "Oh, come on. We both know what's happening here." "So, tell me how long?" Jake swallowed hard, his face paling. I don't... I sighed. 3 months, right? That's what your call logs say. But I assume it started before that? He shot up from his seat, knocking over his glass. "You went through my phone?" "Oh, sweetheart." I laughed softly, shaking my head. "I did more than that." His breath came out in short, ragged bursts. What the hell does that mean? I took my time, watching him squirm, letting the fear settle into his bones before I dropped the bomb. "I met Sophie today." Silence. The color drained from his face entirely. "You're lying." His voice cracked. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and turned it toward him. A video played. Sophie, sitting across from me in a cafe. Her pretty little face twisted in shock as I told her everything. Every lie, every excuse, every promise Jake had broken. The last frame? Sophie stared at me, wide-eyed, whispering, "I didn't know. Oh my God, I didn't know." Jake sank back into his chair like the air had been knocked from his lungs. "She thought you were single," I continued, my voice sharp as a knife. "She thought you loved her. And when I told her the truth?" I smirked. She was furious. Jake's hands gripped the edges of the table. "What did you do?" I leaned in, lowering my voice. "I told her everything. And she wasn't too happy about being your side piece." He shook his head. "No. No, she wouldn't owe. But she did." I cut in, eyes flashing. "She said she never wanted to see you again." Jake exhaled sharply, running his hands through his hair, his body trembling. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. And I wasn't done. I stood up, placing a neatly stacked pile of papers in front of him. "What's this?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Divorce papers." I crossed my arms. "Signed. Effective immediately." His eyes widened. You already, yes." He was losing control. His breath hitched. His hands balled into fists. "You can't be serious," he whispered. "Oh, I'm very serious, Jake." I picked up my wine glass, taking one last slow sip. "You didn't just cheat on me. You replaced me. You planned an entire future with her. while I sat here, playing the loving wife. Tears burned in his eyes now. He reached for my hand. Baby, I can fix this work. I stepped back. No, Jake, you broke this, and now you get to live with it. I grabbed my coat and my keys, pausing at the door just long enough to give him one final parting gift. Oh, and by the way, I glanced back, smirking. Sophie and I had a nice chat about your finances. She knows about your little off-the-books investments, and she's considering telling your boss. His face crumpled in sheer panic. Good luck explaining that, I said, and walked out the door. I didn't look back. I never would again. The moment I walked out of that house, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Relief. Not sadness. No regret. Not even anger. Just relief. I had spent years being the perfect wife. I cooked, I cleaned, I supported Jake through everything. I believed in him, trusted him, and loved him with all my heart. And in return, he lied. He betrayed me. He threw me away like I was nothing. But I wasn't nothing. Not anymore. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Jake called me, begged me to talk, to fix things, to forgive him. I ignored him. Sophie, however, she didn't. She kept her word. A few days after our conversation, Jake's company received an anonymous tip about his off-the-books financial activities. By the end of the week, he was under investigation for fraud. He lost his job, his reputation, everything. And Sophie? She blocked him, deleted him from her life like he never existed. The last I heard, Jake had moved into a tiny apartment across town, drowning in debt, scrambling to find another job. Poetic justice, if you ask me. As for me, I thrived. For the first time in years, I focused on myself. I went to therapy. I took a solo trip to Greece. I reconnected with old friends, laughed until my stomach hurt, danced in the rain, stayed out too late without worrying about who I needed to come home to. I was free. One evening, months later, I found myself sitting on a quiet beach, watching the sunset. My divorce had been finalized. My old life was officially behind me, and yet a small part of me still ached. Not for Jake, not for what we had, but for the girl I used to buy the girl who believed in fairy tales, in forever, in love that never wavered. That girl was gone, and maybe that was okay, because the woman who took her place, she was stronger, she was wiser, and she would never, ever be fooled again. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I took a deep breath and smiled. I had lost everything, and somehow I had gained so much more.